Hello, sweet friends. Happy Friday the 13th, and welcome to our call. I'm so excited to spend about 40 minutes with you talking about something that is kind of a big subject, right? We talk about all sorts of things up in here, and this is one that I feel like is pretty universal for every human on the planet. Do either of you ladies or anyone watching the recording, do you ever experience any sort of fear? Never, right? Lisa's like, never. Yeah, so I feel like this is just according to Christy, as a human on the planet, it just comes with humaning, fear, right? But I truly believe that fear is really misunderstood. I feel like there's way more to learn and way more to glean from fear than maybe what we're currently experiencing. So, my intention with this 40 minutes that we are going to spend together is to really dive in and to take a look at how we can reframe fear so that we can have a softer approach with fear. Because I feel like it's very common to kind of have the harsh, like, shut down your inner mean girl. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Like, do you know what I like? The messaging of like, no fear, fear's a liar. Like all these really like harsh messages about fear. Do you know what I mean? Like that's kind of the typical approach that humans take with fear, which is totally understandable. But my belief is resistance creates more. So I don't really want to have more fear. Do you want to have more fear? Like, it's not the most pleasant emotion if we aren't reframing it in a way that serves us, right? Living in fear, the way that humans perceive it, can really cause problems. For me personally, I know my experience living in fear caused an autoimmune condition in my actual physical body, has caused mental health issues that are real. I have been diagnosed with complex PTSD. I don't know that that is all from fear, but for sure, fear has had a part to play in my body's response to stimulus outside of me. Does that make sense? And so I truly believe that misunderstood fear can be really damaging to our hearts, to our physical bodies, to our minds. And so the intention is to reframe it so that we can stop resisting it, stop giving it so much energy, and transform the way that we look at it so that it can be a teacher to us, so that we can make friends with fear, right? If that's even possible, I truly believe it is. And so we're going to get into it. First, I want to share a story. And I want to invite you to keep breathing. Like a lot of times in life, we forget to breathe. And that's like such a simple thing that can really help us be present. So as we're talking, as we're sharing, as you are thinking about this and being about this, I want to invite you just to take some deep breaths, like belly breaths, and just strive to just really be present in your body as we talk. Okay. So here's the story. How many of you have seen the movie It? You know, Pennywise? Lisa's like, I don't watch those kind of movies. Okay. Charlie or Kristen, maybe you have, maybe you haven't. What I do know is Pennywise was my childhood fear. I remember literally in my room in Michigan, I lived in Birmingham, Michigan, right outside of Detroit as a little girl. And we had wood floors throughout our entire house. So it was always creaking. It was kind of cozy, kind of creepy. You know what I mean? I remember laying in my bed, seeing the wood floors, lights were off. I was trying to go to sleep, and the closet doors were open. And for some reason, there was a clown wig, like just a Halloween costume or something, sitting on the shelf in my closet. I just got a little in my nervous system thinking about this. I remember visualizing Pennywise just popping up and being like, hi, like I couldn't even sleep because I was so scared that Pennywise was going to pop out of my closet and he was going to come hurt me because that's what he did, right? Pennywise was this horrible clown who like would hurt kids, and he lived in the sewer, and like every sewer, what do you call it? Like the grate where the sewer is, what do they even call those? He lived in there, and he would like grab kids' arms and like rip their arms off. Like he was creepy. and he'd bring him down into his lair. And the big like tagline was like this red balloon, and he'd go, they all float down here. Like, oh, creepy, super creepy. So that was my childhood fear. And the proof's in the pudding. I just got a little trauma zing from maybe like 5 or 6-year-old Christy. Even thinking about Pennywise popping out of my closet as a little girl. That's pretty powerful. Fear is powerful. I'm 41 years old right now. And I literally had a physical, visceral reaction in my body thinking about being a 5-year-old, 6-year-old girl and seeing that clown wig in my closet. Let's pause for a minute. Fear is powerful. Fear is powerful. What else is powerful? That means, like, let's pause. Was it real? Did he ever pop out of the closet? Is Pennywise even real? How in the freaking world did I just have a... My imagination is powerful. That is proof that our brains, our subconscious, our minds literally don't know the difference between imagination and reality. They don't, it doesn't know the difference. That's the good news, and that's the bad news. And I don't like to say bad. That's the news, and it's the good news, is that we can literally create in our minds whatever we want. We can choose fear and let our minds believe that, or we can choose something that's not real yet. Manifestation, a life that we want to live. We can literally create that with the power of our mind and our imagination. Isn't that crazy? That's really powerful. So that's my story with Pennywise. Let's fast forward a few years, okay? The old one is a classic. The old It. It's a classic. I mean, the storyline is solid. There's these bunch of kids that it's Derry. I think that's the city that they live in, is Derry. And this group of kids decide that they're going to take Pennywise down. They're sick and tired of kids disappearing. He keeps murdering little kids. Like, it's really bad. Like, that sounds really awful. But that was like my childhood, my family's favorite hideous show. So that's what we watched. But these kids decide to band together and try to take out Pennywise, right? It's got a really good storyline. That's part of why I like it, is it has like the villain, but then it also has these people, these kids that band together and they want to overcome the evil. So I like that. That's like a good, solid storyline. So that was back then. Let's fast forward to a few years ago. The classic was awesome, but they decided to redo it. Okay. So they did an updated version of It. And it was so good. Like, so good. I could not wait for it to come out in the theaters. I remember going with my siblings because it was kind of like our family thing, and my dad. And we went to the theater, took pictures with the red balloon, like they all float. But I'll be honest, I still had that little Christy girl that was kind of scared, like from my childhood. And so I went to watch this show. And let's pause for a second and like, let's just ask and maybe write down on your piece of paper, why do we like to be scared? Why? If this is so terrifying, why do we like to subject ourselves to it? Some people are like, yeah, that's why I don't do horror movies. Like, but some people like it. Like, they do. Why? That's an interesting thought. If you really pause and maybe ask yourself, like, if you're someone who likes this kind of stuff, maybe you like the haunted houses, maybe you like, you know, a little, ooh, that's scary. I like it. Why? What? That's just something to ponder. Like, for me, it's exciting. Did you hear that? We're going to talk more about that. Fear can be exciting. It's an emotion. It activates something inside of me that I get to feel. But it's not pleasant. So why do we like it? Humans like to just experience emotions. We might not cognitively understand that we do, right? We might think fear's a liar. I don't want to feel fear. But the proof's in the pudding. Humans like to experience emotions of all kinds. It's an experience. So pause for just a second. What if we remove the label? It's kind of exciting to feel fear. As a human, wouldn't it get kind of boring to just feel awesome all day, every day, all the time? You might be like, no, I think that's kind of attractive. Maybe it would be for a couple days, but I'm here to say we would get bored. Are you with me? And like how we talked about the tapestry, picture your whole like emotional history, your emotional life as a human, as a tapestry. Wouldn't it be boring if it was all just blue and flat? Like, it's kind of awesome that there's different textures, different patterns, different colors. Our emotions can simply just be another texture, a different color. And if we remove the labels and the judgment of like bad, these are bad emotions, these are good emotions, fear's a liar, that's a label. It's not necessarily true. Fear is an emotion. And as humans, we kind of like to experience the full gamut of emotions. We do. We might not realize that we do, but it would be dang boring if we just had nothing but content and joy and all the time pleasure. Like that's not the way that we want to experience life. Okay. Okay. So they redid, that was just a pause. They redid it and we went to see it because we like to experience fear because we're funny humans. It's kind of funny. But here's the bottom line. And if you haven't seen it and you want to see it, I'm going to spoil the end for you right now. So pause if you don't want to hear this, but I'm going to spoil alert. I'm going to tell you, oh, Kristen, what is that? I freaking love him. I love hate him. Like, it's this.
I don't know if I should interrupt the meeting, but I thought it was funny.
You know what would have been awesome if you just turn your camera on and you just have it on. Ah. What's even better? Why don't I get one of those? I totally should. Wouldn't that have been awesome? The call starts and I'm just sitting here, just Pennywise. That's my favorite thing in the whole world. Thank you. That's Pennywise. That's what he looks like. He's hideous. And he has this high-pitched voice and he wants to hurt kids. It's gross, but it's so exciting for some reason. My son's obsessed with him. We actually have like, he has like all sorts of like collectibles of it. Like, it's just this little obsession. Like, so we like to be scared. It's kind of twisted, but let's just go with it. That's humans, right? Okay. So we went and saw the movie and I'm going to spoil the end. So if you don't want to hear the end, I'm going to spoil it for you right now. I'm sorry. The kids all band together, right? I told you, like, there was these murders happening. He was out of control. Like, it was so bad. And these kids gather up. And this is such a good storyline. I love a storyline where they develop the characters and they really let you into their hearts and like what they're dealing with. And they have a why and it just like makes them do hard stuff. Like, I love that. So there's a really solid storyline behind each of these kids and why they band together. And like, they want to go against Pennywise and defeat him. And it's so awesome. Like, oh, so entertaining, so good, and so hideous. And I love it. But here's the bottom line. At the very end of the movie, okay, they go into the sewer where he lives. They literally go into the underbelly of the beast. They face their fears, him in his home. And they like stand toe to toe, eye to eye, and they say, we're not afraid of you. And guess what happens to him? He shrinks and like completely whittles and just slinks away. Like, he turns into like a little like, and he literally just disappears. Guys, I literally at the end of the movie, I stand up and I'm like, see, like, I was so pumped up at the end. I was literally like, my heart was pounding and I'm like jumping up and down and I'm like, see, like something inside of me shifted. And I was like, dude, fear is just an illusion. It's not real. It's literally just an illusion. So for some really weird reason, That changed the way that I looked at fear. Forevermore, I was like, fear is not what I thought it was. Fear is an illusion. Fear is a creation of our imagination. It's literally not real. Now, pause. Are there opportunities to have fear about things that have happened? For example, my brother passed away when I was a 9-year-old little dolly. It crushed my heart, like absolutely pulled the rug out from underneath me in my life. He was 12, I was 9. It crushed me. Like I was absolutely heartbroken. So as an adult, I had a fear of my kids dying that was causing me like panic attacks at night. And like, we're talking legitimate anxiety. So is it compassionate to tell that version of Christy, fear is a liar. Fear isn't real. So I'm having compassion for what might be going on for you. Maybe in your world, you have a fear of something that's legitimate. Does that make sense? Like there's evidence that you can collect to support that that fear is legitimate. So in no way, I'm talking to myself and with you, in no way am I saying, if you have fear about something legitimate like that, to like be uncompassionate. That's not the point. The point is, what if we slowed it way down? And what if we just like zoomed in on what's really going on? Because is it possible that my kids could die? It's possible. So me being fearful about that is valid. But the question isn't, is it right or is it wrong? Is it bad or is it good? Remove the labels. The question is it serving me? That's the question. And that's the question I want you to ask yourself. My ultimate goal, my purpose, my exceptional life, that is this fear supporting me getting closer to that or not? Is me creating this imagination, this imaginary thing, and then holding space for that, focusing on it, thinking about it, talking about it, feeling about it, is that moving me closer to my ultimate goal? Yes or no? Is that bringing me peace? For me, my barometer is when I ask myself a question, I tune in right here and I ask, like, is this aligning me with peace? No. So it's not bad. It's not sick and wrong. It's simply out of alignment with my true goal. So that's where we get to slow it down, zoom in on it, and make friends with it so that we can remove the resistance. Are you with me? Because the fear is there. It's not necessarily helping me get closer to my goal, but resisting it. Can you see how like the human opinion of fear is a liar, like get that mean girl and like take her and tell her she's wrong. Okay, that doesn't help. Does that, like if I align and I ask, like tap in right here, that feels resistant. Are you with me? And resistance makes things persist. Like what you resist persists. So for me, that doesn't serve me. The whole mean girl, that the inner mean girl, stop the fear, don't have fear. Fear is like that doesn't serve me personally. What does serve me is to slow down and to zoom in a little bit. Okay. Now we're going to go into this human and divine. Lisa and Charlie heard this. Kristen, maybe you haven't heard this before, but it's my belief that we talked about this in Lake Powell. It's my belief, and this really resonates with me, that we have a divine self that is eternal, that is aligned, that is peaceful, that feels like unconditional love. There's no comparison. There's no doubt. There's no shame. There's no anything but peace and just unconditional love, connection with our creator, connection with ourself, trust. Like that's the divine us. Kristen, you have a divine Kristen. Lisa, Charlie, you have a divine version of you that's eternal. It's your soul, right? And we can always tap in. We can always tune in to that version of us that's here. That's why I always hold right here. Like that to me is where I feel that. It's my heart, your heart. We also have this human version of us. Because guess what? Here we are on the earth. Butt crack. Yep. Fleshy. Yep. So that's our human self. Brain. Yes. There's a brain in here, right? There is a purpose for both. It's my belief that we're here as humans to learn, to experience all these things in a physical body so that we can excavate the human us to get more in tune with the divine us, to show up more, to align more with that version of us that is divine, that's peaceful, that's radiant, that's beautiful, that's full of trust, full of love, like outward focused. Okay, so we get to have these bodies, we get to have this brain, we get to experience this mortal experience as humans to develop the divine us. Does that make sense? So there's always these two versions of us. And remove labels. In this world that I'm talking about, in my opinion, my beliefs here, it's not good, bad, right, wrong. There's none of that. It's simply choice. It's simply growth. It's learning. We can show up as the divine us. We can also show up as the human us. It's all for our learning. It's all for our good. It's a choice. It's agency, right? And so for me, when it comes to fear, understanding this relationship is key because we have these brains that have a very clear function. Our brains have a purpose. And I'm sure you've heard this before. I'm fascinated. Oh my gosh, I'm so fascinated with the brain and how it functions and how it works and the relationship to all of like our soul with the brain and the human and the divine. It's fascinating. But the truth is our brain has a purpose. Its one and only purpose is to help us what? Survive. Our brain is literally in our head to keep us breathing oxygen and keep our heart beating. Our brain is not wired for peace. That's not our job of our brain. Our human brain, it's not its job to be peaceful. Its job is to keep us alive. Are you with me? So then to tap into this peaceful divine version of us requires understanding this human brain enough to make it work for us in ways that help us stay alive. But then also, if you want to have peace, that's going to be a level up. It's not just going to come naturally with a brain. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Or are you kind of like, Okay. So as it relates to fear, our brains are wired for survival. They're not wired for growth. Growth is actually counterintuitive for a brain. Why? It's change. So our brains don't want change. Our brain wants us to be comfortable and familiar. Why? Because that feels like we're going to keep breathing oxygen if things stay the same. Are you with me? My heart's going to keep beating if I stay out of oncoming traffic. So our brain literally can't differentiate between a threat to our physical safety, stepping into oncoming traffic, and a threat to our identity. Are you with me? Growth is threatening to our ego brain because it is a shift in our identity. So our brain perceives a shift, change, growth as a possible threat to our physical safety. Did you hear me? So your brain will respond the same. If you step into oncoming traffic, you'll have a fear response, which is very valid. Your brain is like, you are going to die. Like you have got, like, so it sends adrenaline into your body, makes your heart start pounding. Like it makes you do things immediately. That's adrenaline. That's your job of your brain. Good job, brain. Like, I don't want to get like killed in oncoming traffic. But guess what? Your brain will have the same exact response if you are sending a message to someone about plexus. Why? There's this chain of thoughts and meaning that your brain attaches to. If you have someone reject you, you can perceive that as you are not worthy, you're not a good person. It's a shift in your identity. For your brain, that is just like, no, that's not safe. It's not familiar. So your brain is like, you might stop breathing oxygen if that person says they don't want to learn about plexus. What? Why? Because your cute brain cannot differentiate between a physical threat to your safety and a threat to your identity, AKA growth. Are you with me? So can you see how fear plays into this? Sometimes we call it fear when it's actually a choice to grow. But we have to understand the brain enough to go, hey, I hear you. You have good intentions. Your one job is to keep me breathing oxygen. You want me to survive. Guess what? I feel you activating right now. I'm feeling this little zing in my body. My hands are tingling. I'm feeling fear, but I'm safe. I'm not actually in oncoming traffic. I'm simply taking a step out of my comfort zone to grow. I'm safe. So can you see that it's the divine you that understands growth, understands peace, understands this, mentoring the human you, AKA fear. Are you with me? Because sometimes it's not fear, it's growth. But your brain doesn't like it. Your brain is like, this is new. This is unfamiliar. I don't like it. Even if your current situation is painful, your brain likes it. Why? It's familiar. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? So a lot of the things that we perceive as fear, and it might feel in a human body and in a human brain, we call it fear. But is it necessarily bad? Lisa, you're right in the middle of this. Lisa's taken steps outside of her comfort zone. And are you experiencing what humans might call fear? But what actually, if your divine self could explain what's happening, what would she say?
She would say, don't give up or don't give into it, because there are people whose lives are matter and you're in the process of changing. You just have to push through it to get to them, to help them. So
your divine self recognizes what you're feeling as growth. Lisa, is there pain?
Yeah.
Yeah. But guess what? That's called growth. It's not necessarily fear. Are you with me? Your brain goes, oh, scary, scary, scary. Divine you is like, heck no. There's no free lunch. There's pain. You're choosing the pain of growth. There's nothing wrong. Nothing has gone wrong. You are on the path to your exceptional life. That fear, which is really just your brain going, I don't know how to do this. This is unfamiliar, is actually growth. Right?
Can I just share something real quick of how it totally helped me relate this with Lake Powell when we jumped off the houseboat. It's not really that high, and I didn't really think there was any real danger, right? I didn't feel like I was going to get hurt. But your brain, like feeling that connection between your brain and that your heart, that's like, we don't do this and this is scary, and that physical response to it. And then you do it and you're like, oh my gosh, that really wasn't that big of a deal. Like, right? Like, so anyway, I just now can go back to that experience and be like, okay, it really wasn't that big of a deal. I felt it. We did it. It was actually a little bit fun. So I don't need to resist it.
I love that. Have you heard? I wrote something down so I can remember to share. Have you heard the only difference between fear and excitement is breath? Have you ever heard that? Okay, when I hear that, that is your divine self mentoring the human you. Because the human you is like, fear, bad. I don't like this. I want to make this go away. And your divine's like, it's okay. Take a breath. What if it could be exciting? The divine you is like, what you're feeling is the step before growth. Fear can be excitement if we just add in a breath. So like Lisa, you're on top of the houseboat. Your brain's like, not safe. You might die. We've never done this. It's new. It's not familiar. I don't like it. Fear. Fear. The divine you is like, yep, I hear you. It's unfamiliar. And it's called growth. Let's go. Take a breath. Go. And what was your experience? It wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad. And it was actually a little fun. And that little bit of a thrill is a kind of a fun experience. And I wasn't alone. Like I was doing it together. So I had other people that were doing the exact same jump and fear together.
Yes.
Which is what we have here.
Well, isn't it so cool that we have this container here with Plexus and even just like women who are connected in life? This container is safe. We get to learn this stuff together and we get to walk it out step by step together. That is powerful. So Charlie said brain scans show fear and excitement as the same thing. Totally. It's the thoughts you have around the situation that changes the fear or excitement. 100%. So here's how I like to see it. Why don't let's pause for a minute. What if each of you could presence something that you fear or presence fear for you, right? Maybe you can write something down that you're like, okay, that's a fear for me. For me, I really struggled with, what if my kids died? And I had all this meaning attached about, well, if I'm a good mom, then they won't. And if do you know what I mean? Like all these weird, really interesting meanings that my brain had attached. But at the end of the day, the question is, do I have control over that? Do I have control over if my kids pass away or not? No, I don't. So reframing it and realizing I do not get to control that outcome. Is it serving me to continue focusing energy on this fear? Is it serving me? It's not serving me. So now, where do we go from here? Here's what I want to suggest. Let's give that fear the mic. Right? Give the fear the mic. So often we just shut up, fear. I don't want to listen to you. You're so bad, sick, and wrong. And fear's like, okay, but I just have something to share with you. Like fear is a red flag. Fear is, look at me. I want your attention. It can either be growth, and maybe that's as simple as that. Take some action. Your divine self is like, take a breath, take an action, and then you'll notice that it wasn't as bad as you thought it was. But sometimes I know there's a message for us. Sometimes I know that that's something that matters deeply to us. What if you gave your fear the mic? And you said, okay, I'm done resisting you. You keep showing up. It's your turn. What do you want to say to me, fear? And you just stop shushing it for just a minute. What would your fear say? For me, and I want to invite you to write, because this is about you and your intuition and your specific situation. But for me, my fear of my kids dying, when I gave my fear the mic, that fear said, you love deeply. Isn't that beautiful? You get to trust. Let's work on that. It also said, Christy, you're not that powerful. got this. So when I paused, stopped resisting the fear, just kept breathing, and asked, what are you here to teach me? It actually created this lean in with my creator of trust and surrender. And was the catalyst for this beautiful new relationship with my creator and myself. So, what might your fear be here to teach you about you? Why do you care so much about whatever it is that you're fearing? There might be something beautiful under there. For me, the fact that it was so strong for me, that fear, was an indicator of how deeply I love. That's a gift. That's unique. That's something that I get to have. It's a blessing to me and the people around me. What could your fear be teaching you? If you simply gave your fear a chance to talk about you, about your creation, your relationship with your creator, about the way you show up. Why does it matter so much to you? Why does that fear matter to you? Listen to it. There's a message there. For me, people say the opposite of fear is faith. That doesn't feel compassionate. That feels too aggressive to me. To take someone who's in true fear and say, you need to have more faith. That's dismissive, in my opinion. Are you with me? Like that, to someone who has a legitimate fear, that isn't a compassionate approach. My feeling is the opposite of fear is love. Who or what do I get to love more? It's trust. You could call that faith. To me, in my heart, it's surrender. It's putting me back in alignment with my creator and the universe and the relationship that there is there. I am not that powerful in terms of someone else's life. I don't have control over that. It's surrender that God is ultimately in control. He really is. And even this, with my brother passing away, it was so hard for my brain to comprehend that that was his will. I didn't get it. How could this possibly be a good thing? I don't have an all-knowing perspective. I just don't. So leaning into this trust and surrender and realizing I don't have that much power, God knows I don't. He is in control with even this. So I want to challenge you and me. That thing right now, that one thing in your heart that's causing you what we call fear, what if even that is in divine order? What if? What if this is all perfect for your ultimate divine growth? What if this fear is here as a teacher, as a friend? What if that fear is going to hang out with you till the day you're not a human anymore to remind you of your gifts? We don't know. But what if we framed it that way? What if we chose to look at fear through that lens? How does that feel? Tune in with your heart and like take a breath. What if fear is a teacher? What if we could reframe fear as excitement by just adding a breath? What if that divine you could utilize fear for your divine growth? How does that feel? It feels peaceful to me. It feels compassionate to the human me. It feels like surrender. It feels like trust. God's in charge. We're held. We are held. That feels like trusting the many seen and unseen spirits and angels, that they also are here to support us, and that it is all in divine order. And it is there for divine ultimate growth. And that it is love. It's just our work and challenge to refine ourselves through reframing it and through learning from it and through action. The antidote for fear is action. Okay, so here's an applicable thing that I want to challenge us to do next time we feel this fear come up. And you know how it feels in your body. For me, my heart races a little. I feel tingly in my hands. I kind of it's like hard to breathe a little bit when I'm activated with some fear. How does it feel for you though? How does it feel for you when you feel fear? I want you to notice that and just like recognize within yourself when that comes up. How about we challenge ourselves to, number one, do what? I'm feeling fear right now. Wow. Notice what it feels like. Somatically in your body, I'm feeling tingly hands. My chest feels kind of tight. Ooh, I don't so much love it. It feels kind of uncomfortable. Okay, how can I reframe this? Because it's the same thing as excitement. How could I reframe this? How could the divine me come in here and take the wheel? The divine you would come in here and go, oh, okay, this is gross. Okay. She would take a breath. Let's do something. What can we do right now? Jump up and down, physically move your body, do something to move this feeling through you, right? You're somatically experiencing it, you're acknowledging it, and you move. Because emotions aren't there to stay. Emotions is energy in motion. Get in motion so that it can move through you, right? And then guess what? You can maybe it's gone. Maybe that's as simple as it is. It's a simple reframe of the divine you coming in here and going, I feel you. Your human body's feeling some things. Okay, notice it, acknowledge it. Maybe ask it. Are you here to tell me something? Or are you just here? You're just here? Okay, cool. Well, then I'm going to take a breath and I'm going to say, good job. You're growing. This is normal. This is beautiful. This is part of the path. Maybe that's it. And then you take action and you do something. Maybe you pick up your phone and you send the message. Maybe you pick up your phone and you make the phone call. Maybe you push the live and you go live. I don't know what it is. Action's the anecdote, right? And if it's a long-term fear that keeps sticking around, that's when maybe you sit knee to knee and you ask the fear, you keep hanging around. Okay, that's okay. We're friends. Let's be friends. What are you here to teach me? Picture yourself knee to knee with the fear. It's a friend. Give it the mic. Ask some questions. What are you here to teach me about me? What are you here to teach me about my life? What are you here to teach me about my relationship with my creator? Am I white knuckling things that are outside my control? Do I really have control over this? This thing that you're making me feel fear about? Do I really have to ask 20 questions and let the fear teach you? Let the fear show you some things that are going to lead to a greater connection with yourself, with your creator, with the people around you. Let the fear share with you and just see what kind of gems are there, because there are gems. And I'm talking about a long-term fear. Does that make sense? Like some of the fear, we need to not overthink it and just, okay, oh, I'm feeling some feelings. Breathe, act. That's the anecdote, right? And you got to picture that divine you guiding and going, hey, this is your human experience. You're feeling the feelings. Okay, take a breath. Now do it. Are you with me? It's not the fear in that situation is not the enemy. It's actual feedback that you're growing. That's what the divine you would say. Stop calling it fear. It's feedback that you are very slowly, surely growing your comfort zone. It's feedback that you're on the right path because you're growing. and your brain is perceiving it unsafe because it's new. Isn't that the goal? You want something different, right? You want something you haven't experienced. That's called growth. But your brain's not going to be liking it. So if you're having that fear response, it's feedback that you're on the right track because you're doing something new and uncomfortable. And your comfort zone is growing. Your familiar zone is growing. Your brain is showing you that. Okay, so it can be that. But I don't want to dismiss that long-term fears are there. If that's what it is, need a knee, 20 questions, listen. What can I learn from this fear? What are you here to teach me? And lean into it. Okay. That's all, my friends. Do you have any thoughts or questions, Lisa? Charlie, Kristen? The challenge.
No, this is really good. I just I had a child, well, still have a child that is making some choices. He's making some better choices now, but when he wasn't, it was really hard to watch and let go, surrender, let the control go. I feel like I get in control. Like if I don't feel in control, then that feels fearful. And I hadn't really put that together until just now. But it wasn't until I surrendered him, my son, to him, the Savior, that I was like, well, he knows way more about my son than I do. He knows way more about where his path is going and what he's going to accomplish than I do. So back off, Mom. Just your role here is to just love, let go of control, and the fear went away. I was like, oh, he needs this path for himself to grow. So why would I get in the way of his growth? And I think that's what I can relate back to my own self. Like, why would I get in the way of my own growth?
Yes. Lisa, that's so beautiful. When I experience like white knuckling, I call it, when it's like the illusion of control, to me, that's our brain looking for certainty. Mm-hmm. Brain loves certainty. So we want to be certain that his choices are going to be so that we can feel what about ourselves. Are you with me? Like,
yeah,
brain is searching for something certain and familiar so that we can then feel something about ourselves.
Yep.
The trick is like short circuiting and going, wait, I don't have control over another human. Even our own kids, sometimes, even our young kids, we don't fully have control over them. So it's this illusion of control that our brain is searching for certainty. But when we let go and go, wait, whoa, I don't have control. There's this lightness and this openness that takes over. And it's this surrender of realizing we're not in control. And with that comes peace. I choose peace over certainty. Because guess what? Certainty is a myth. No one has certainty about anything. I mean, I'm saying like the brain wants certainty about circumstances. We don't get to have that as humans. So it's almost like, do I want this illusion of certainty or do I want peace? So letting go of that illusion of control, because we don't have it, brings peace. And we just let go for a need for certainty because we don't get to have that either. So beautiful. So the challenge is, are we going to practice? Let's practice. This is a muscle. This process takes practice. It's a new skill. So we're going to be really bad at it before we're good at it, right? So are we down for doubling down with these processes and just practicing? I'm telling you guys, and I'm telling me, my thoughts and my feels are getting good at this is going to lead to abundant life in every way. Because fear is here. It's not going anywhere. Learning how to be friends with it, learning how to reframe it, learning how to be friends or how to learn from it is going to bring us closer to the ultimate goal. And that's what we want. And it's going to bring us peace along the way. Okay, my friends, thank you so much for being here. I really love and honor that you would spend time with me and with us. Let's do this. Let's practice this. And let's have some peace, right? And let's go watch a scary movie because it's fun. I love you. Thank you so much for being here. Have a good weekend. We'll see ya.